Jeez. Man, what a day. All right, starting out rough. All right, we'll get it figured out, though. All right, guys. Once again, for the third time now, thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for joining us. We are trying something new, trying to expand our scope, our horizons, attract new people, whatever you want to call it. Definitely just, expanding where we reach out to people and trying to make ourselves known to lesser known groups or friends of friends, whatever the thing may be. Also giving you guys a chance to come in, ask us questions, find out what the server's about, what we're working on, that kind of stuff. That said, just a quick introduction. I'm going to go through each of us. I got some of my guys with us, staff members from the server, from developers to guides, content, you name it. We're all here. We're all here to answer questions and chat with you guys. I have 4 of us online right now. Maybe one more joining in a minute. So I'm just going to roll through this introduction real quick. I am Malevolent. Of course, you're here to visit me. No one else matters, right? No, I'm just kidding. But I am the main guy. I've been running this project since 2008, which is when I took over from the original, I guess, developer or server admin who ran it in 2006. And he handed me the reins in 2008, and I've had it for the last 19 years or so. This is the 3rd iteration of Clumsy's World. This one known as Resurgence, which I'll get into in a minute. But essentially, I'm the server admin. I'm the web admin. I handle all of our tooling, and I'm the lead content designer. So I'm the one who says, what makes sense, what doesn't, what's a logical progression for our items and tiers of content, and I handle the networking and all this other stuff. I am not the main developer. I'll introduce that guy in a second. That's his tag, his role. I'm not quite that level. I do my own share. I ran the server for a while without anyone helping me, so I know my way around. But it's definitely nice to have people on board who know a little bit more than I do. So, with that said, I'm going to bring on Valgor, who is my lead developer. He's responsible for our custom tooling, fancy quests, super crazy custom stuff that a little bit beyond what I know how to do. So he's been on the projects for 3 years now, give or take, 4 years. I don't know. I'll let him talk for a minute.
All right, can you hear me, first of all? All right, I'm seeing a thumbs up. So, yeah, my in-game name is Valgor. My staff character name is Valdor, similar deal. But yeah, I've been on the server 2-3 years now, and initially just joined as a player and saw Mal ironically streaming on Twitch one day, playing it in Seb, I think, just kind of grinding through, and caught my attention. And then some of the kind of unique features about the server drew me in and got me dabbling. I think the main feature that caught my attention that I hadn't really seen anywhere else was the mentorship system, where you can um, essentially mentor your own higher level character down to play with any other lower level character that you want. Really kind of opens up the entire game to every character to be able to play with other people. So hadn't really seen that anywhere else, and that particular one feature drew me in initially. Still one of my favorite features. Kind of super simple concept, but really powerful one, I think. So I'd seen that in other games like Vanguard and whatnot. Anyways, cool, really cool system. Initially drew me in, and then all of the other kind of unique elements of the server, and the folks that are playing on it kind of kept me in here for the long haul. So yeah, 2 or 3 years been playing, having a lot of fun, and at some point, I think after the first 8 to 12 months, of playing. Started dabbling and talking with Mal about contributing in terms of coding and content and whatnot. And I had actually coded in a bunch of other languages, but never done anything in the context of what we do in server development here. So was interesting to kind of learn slowly by adding small things and iterating on things, and then over time just kind of got a little bit more comfortable with it. So um, it's been a fun ride up to this point, and pretty excited to see where we move forward. And just to give a little bit, kind of to expand a little bit on what Mal was talking about. So Mal's kind of the big picture guy of first of all keeping the theme of the server and the kind of core idea of the server on track, and then it's easy to come up with all sorts of nutty, crazy ideas about stuff, and I throw them out all the time. And I've gotten pretty comfortable at getting shot down when it doesn't align with the greater vision for the server. Or it's just kind of goes in a bad direction that that it isn't gonna serve the server well. So um, you know, it's it's worked out well having that check and balance of not just throwing every idea at the server and you know letting it either crash or die. But it's worked out well having that balance. So um, we'll I'll go ahead and pass it on to the next one if you want, Mal, or I can talk about anything
Yeah,
specific.
I know you talk all day, man. If I let you.
Yeah.
All right. So up next, I am going to introduce Zircon. He is one of our he's one of our guides. He assists with quest testing, wiki, whatever, QAing and help, and he's probably our foremost and most time invested person when it comes to working through quests. That's kind of his thing. So he's one of the fastest people to work through something and let us know if it's working or not. And he likes to hit those off the wall ones that most people ignore. So we appreciate everything he does. Zircon, if you want to say a word or two.
All right. Hey guys. Start with the comm check. Can you hear me okay? All right. So yeah, Zircon. In game, I duo mage cleric, Zircon, and cleric. Uh, yeah, I found the server. I think it was like 3 years ago. Stumbled across a Reddit post Mail made and poked around. Uh, been hitting some of the EMUs and Clumsy's hit the sweet spot. 2 box limit with the quality of life. I have a couple kids, so I had to have be able to summon my corpse, be able to, duo, so I could do some content myself in between naps and things. And then, some of the other EMUs, when they let you 3+ box, it gets to be too much work, or you don't need a group at all. So then coming here, the community was great. People were willing to help out. The scaling was done really well. So I've been able to go in and accomplish things I never could when I was on live. Like Mal mentioned, I really like to dig into the questing part of it. Any off the wall quest, any really, long term kind of quest objectives. The Kunark Archaeology series was great. So I like to hit those, see what's broken, blame Valgor, and then have him help me out and fix it. Uh, yeah, that's me.
All right. Well, appreciate it, man. Welcome to the chat. Next guy I'm gonna bring on. He's probably the OGest of OGs. He's been on the server the longest. He's basically been with me since the beginning of time, since the dawn of man. He pisses off a lot of people like I do, just because we're a lot alike, and well, I wouldn't have it any other way. So, with that said, here comes my boy Plagued. He's just been there for us the whole time, helping us out, doing everything, testing. He's one of our guides, so he helps people out all the time. Sometimes he probably just confuses them more than help them, but we love him all the same. It's my boy Plagued. You're welcome to introduce yourself if you want. He's also might be doing a comps check.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you, bud.
Hey, I'm Plagued. I've played on Clumsy's World since 2008, which would have been the first version. I started playing on Clumsy's World when I had finished up on one of the first TLPs called Mayon. It was a 5150 server. And I had been following EQ Classic that died. And so I was looking for something like this, excuse me, to mess around with. And I haven't left because it's been so good and so fun. Yeah, we are. That's better. I've wrote a handful of quests. I've debugged endless amounts of quests.
Do what?
I've beta tested the most two recent versions of Clumsy's World.
What?
And I play as often as I can. Resurgence raids 2 nights a week, and because I'm so busy with family and work,
I mean, yeah, but
I
I
don't
don't care
always
if she
make
sells
it, but
it.
I try my best. I try my best to be there for the guild and the other people on the server, as I am a guide as well.
Oh, Dad didn't buy it. It's fine. It's whatever. Get them out, please.
Take it away, Mal.
All right. All right, sorry, I'm back. Had wife aggro. All right, so last guy I'm gonna bring on. He's one of our dedicated players. He's not a staff member per se, but he helps us out with community and figuring stuff out and testing shit and Wikipedia and everything else. Like, he helps us troubleshoot stuff on the ALA and everything else. He's one of our quest testers and just all around helpful dude. So we decided to bring him on for the chit chat. Everybody, please welcome Dagara. Sorry he don't have a photo or a camera, but he's gonna join us anyway. Dag, you want to say a word or two? Sounds good. All right. Well, if he decides to say hi, we'll have him.
All right, how about now?
Oh, there he is. We got him.
Do I sound better this time?
Yeah, man. I had to turn you down now. All right. So what's up, Dag? Want to say a word or two? All right, sounds good. All right, well, I'm going to move on. So I'm going to start by just kind of introducing the server and kind of what we are. And at any time, the guys can chime in and say, whatever they want to say or talk about, questions, whatever. Don't matter. So Clumsy's World is a Velius era semi-custom legit. That means no GM commands, no crazy funny stuff, no automation software, nothing like that. PvE, we don't care too much about PvP. There are servers for that. We are not a classic server. While we do kind of encompass that feel, we have no intentions of being a true to classic server. We are not a progression server. You don't unlock content by doing content. We give you content as content's ready. That's kind of how we do it. As I've mentioned before, we all have lives. We work for free. And so sometimes content takes a while. Sometimes content comes pretty quick. Just depends on what we're doing, what our lives are like. And that's kind of one of the things that we think appeals 2 people on our server is that you're not really rushing against the clock at any given point. We're not forcing you to do stuff on a schedule to keep up, which may also turn some people off. You know, like some people may want something a little more fast paced, and that's fine. You know, we release content in batches. Typically, we'll consider them major content patches, like what I would consider an expansion, but on a smaller scale, or just as needed. Like right now, we're kind of working on some Christmas stuff. We have a Christmas event every year, and every year we try to add something to it. Could be something as simple as a quest. It could be something as big as a whole new raid boss with a whole zone worth of stuff. It just depends on what we have time for. We release bug fixes as needed. We try to keep things fixed and patched as fast as possible. We've been around since 2006. Like I said, we took over in 2008. This is the 3rd version of this server. The first one lasted until 2012. The second one from 2014 on or so. That one didn't last very long. It was a very grand idea that just did not have the time to see the light. So it really was more of a fun server that we were trying to do some crazy stuff with, and then eventually just came to terms with it being too much. We've always been involved in the community. I'm long before Discord was around. I was very active in the EQEmu server forums. I've been active in the Discord. We help other servers with development, with ideas, with bug fixes. And of course, they help us too. That's what's great about this community. We try to drive innovation and change. We try to control wild ideas as much as possible because some things just are painful. But essentially, our vision is to take the world as it exists within this time period and alter it just a bit. We want to input our own twists and creations, our own ideas, and at the core of everything we do, and this quote came directly from the original Clumsy himself, is we want to create a fun, challenging, and social environment for our players, and that's the core of everything we do. A little bit about the lore. So, as Avelius, Caraphim was the forbidden child of 2 opposing elemental dragons, resulting in the creation of a powerful prismatic dragon. That's all the same stuff. Caraphim quickly rose to power. He was an exceptional general, had a crazy bloodlust and just thought dragons were the end-all be-all of everything. He wanted all the other races to be non-existent. And so that's kind of the idea that we're rolling with, except we're going to twist it a little bit and we're going to change it. We're going to let Caraphim actually come to power. And how that happens, we'll see. But, so far we've done what is essentially introduce a follower of sort, a faction of followers that have supported Caraphim throughout his existence and now are sort of like a rebellion of sorts. And their goal ultimately being to wipe out players from the earth, to challenge Vishen to war, and to take control of Norath and everything Norath is. So that's kind of the basis of what we're doing. So these followers are known as Ancients. We currently have 1 tier of Ancients available right now. They're called the Classic Ancients, and the reason we kind of call them that is because the Ancients all take place in that era. So all the Classic Ancients would be in Classic Zones, and most I'd say content patches involving Ancients will have 10 Ancients, give or take. I don't think any of them are past 10 yet, but the idea is you have a couple what are referred to as empowered creatures. These are monsters that the Ancients convert and give powers to cause chaos and whatever throughout the world. And then you have your actual Ancients, which are the actual followers of Caraphim who are out there trying to cause chaos. And then in each content patch, you'll get a few of the evolved creatures and then a few Ancients. And then you have whatever the boss is for that content patch. We have 2 different progression paths. We have our standard progression path, which is our classic through Velius. Exception being we excluded Sleeper's Tune for obvious reasons. This path includes all our balance changes, gear improvements, quality of life improvements, tweaks, customizations, new quests, whatever you want to think of. The goal being with this is that we want to keep the actual footprint of the world smaller than like a Planes of Power server would be, or a Gates of Discord server would be. We want to try to confine people to a smaller area and let people breach out from there. And then we have our ancient progression path, which is all of our custom content. Like I said, we have our classic ancients in right now, and they tell a story on themselves. They have dialogue and stuff. You can talk to them. They'll tell you what they're doing, why they're doing it. And that's kind of our MO for the server. Is our ancients are doing Carafum's will. They're spreading their chaos, and their ultimate goal being to free Carafum and help him with his resurgence to power. And of course, that's how the server got its name. So in that, you'll uncover new NPCs, you'll learn the lore, you'll engage in dialogue, your new group raid encounters, custom quests, items, spells, zones, whatever you can think of. So a little bit about the server itself. Our features mainly is that we're 2-box. I have no intentions of ever going beyond 2-box. I like still having to have people work together to accomplish things. Like I said, that social environment is very important to us. We like people to work together. But at the same time, we've kind of toned down difficulties so that, current tier raids are not, 70 people. It's more like 24 to 30, give or take. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah, we really did not want to have a server where you needed 70 people to do anything, but also didn't want all of our content doable by, one group. Sorry, throwing down the band hammer. So in addition to that, we have no drop, so it's like Feronia Vi style, except we're actually a little less restrictive. Basically, if it's not something that we believe can allow you to skip content or do like a big long quest chain or something, you can trade it. So I think in total we have like 90 items or something right now that are no drop out of tens of thousands. So it's a very small list. No recommended levels, no required levels, except on like procs and stuff, which is normal. But quality of life stuff includes things like maps, the atlas. You can make your own maps if you want. Raid group roles, leadership abilities, the guild and raid window, which more guild features should be coming soon. Bandolier, melody for you bard guys. You like bard boxes. We have a big hub zone where you have lots of quests, NPCs, merchants, a lot of themed stuff for our events. We have click from bag, increased stack sizes, corpse summoners, soul binders, translocators. We have an instancing system that we custom wrote from scratch, and we think it works pretty well. We've tuned just about every event on the server, every mob, every NPC, to achieve that target difficulty that we really wanted to achieve. Like we wanted the game to be fun for our target audience and our target group and makeup sizes. We have reintroduced many classic items that were removed or nerfed. A lot of times you'll find both items off the same mob, like Circlet of Shadows, for instance. You can get both versions, and the all version has actually been converted to, or the other version has actually been converted into an all version, which is clickable by anybody, but it has a cast time. Sorry, had to get my facts straight there. We've introduced. We still have experience loss, but it's not super crazy. Like if you die a ton, then it would be substantial, but it's not bad. Corpse recoveries are a thing. Like you start to leave items on corpses at level 10. Experience rates are tailored for group play, where the penalties for having people in your group have actually been lessened. Raid instancing. Our hub zone has Merchant, Spell Scriber, which creates custom spells from out of era. Yeah. So Corpse Summoner. So your corpses never disappear here, even if they disappear from a zone. Or, you say you have a bad raid, you can go summon your corpses and just call it a night and just summon your corpses to the hub zone. We have donation merchant, so we do take donations for people that want to help with the server, whatever else. We do not lock any content behind money. Like, that will never ever be a thing. We provide cosmetics, weapon skins, shield skins, pet clickies, that kind of stuff. We have some other things like, I don't know, so we have a whole new like guild banking system and an auction house and stuff like that with master loot and all these other systems that we've made where you can actually pay to increase your size of the storage, which the default storage is pretty good, but if you want to go crazy with it, you can. We have the mentoring NPC, which allows you to lead level to play with your friends, or if you just like a zone a lot and want it to be relevant for a longer period of time, you're welcome to spend 1 to 60 in one zone. You're welcome to do that. We have quest NPCs there. We have a leaderboard, which I think we're going to rework soon. Progression trackers, so you can track both your classic progression and your ancient progression. Translocators, Clumsy, which we've actually every iteration of the server we create a NPC named Clumsy just to pay homage to the guy that started the whole thing, and his goal is, or his purpose is really just to kind of give basic information to new players. That's kind of what he does. And then of course we have our bank. We have a custom banking system with like search and stuff like that you can type in, search for stuff in your bank, and we have a bazaar system. So we have upgradable items like augments. So that's kind of the first thing that we tell people to work towards in a server is get your augments and upgrade them as fast as possible, because they are the single most powerful item you ever get. And once you get beyond 50, you can only upgrade them via quest. So it's a good idea to get the 51 as fast as possible. That way you can move beyond that. A lot of custom quests, NPCs, zones, you name it. We have a challenge encounter with more in the work, where your results get posted to leaderboard. We have tons of new spells, disciplines. Some of them have altered levels to make, just to make more sense. New spells we have Beast Lords and Berserkers as well. Their epics have been reworked for in era. So despite them being, beyond Velius, they've been introduced into the world as we know it, and their quests make sense. And the NPCs have been integrated into the world itself, not just thrown in a hub zone somewhere. New class race combos like Gnome Beast Lord, Dwarf Bard, Troll Cleric, Ixar Rogue, and more. Through donations, you can technically make any race class combo you want. However, the ones that I've put into the game, to me, make sense, and they have NPCs to support them. Vashir are available. Basically, what we've done is we've turned Kara Isle into Charval and combined what was Kara Isle and its NPCs and quests and stuff with the stuff from Charval that makes sense to have within this world. So, in addition to that, we have classic Soul Row armor for Beast Lords and Berserkers. We have custom Canarch set armor for monks and antcasters, which didn't exist before. We have lots of trade skill combines available to players that normally would be out of era, like cultural stuff, distillates, potions, like item recharging. To an extent, item recharging is one of those things I'm kind of on the fence about, but I allow it in some regards. Gnome work stuff, all that stuff is available. Here, something that's not very common, we actually allow pets to tank and hold aggro. So if you want your pet to tank the raid boss, you can. That's fine with us. However, pets here are not as strong as they are in a lot of servers. They're still very strong, don't get me wrong, but in terms of tanking, they are not as good of a tank as a player, and that will always be the case. We give AAs out at set intervals. Some of them you get at level 1, like Origin and Pet Discipline and whatever the Pet Affinity, one that lets your pets get the buffs. Warriors get like Area Taunt at 50. Shadow Knights and Paladins get 2-hand bash at level 1. Yeah, we have extended targeting. Rangers get Endless Quiver at level 1. They get Archery Mastery. I think it's starting at level 40. I think it's 40 and 50 something. And then some other stuff. But most of it's given to you through progression, though. So when you or complete classic progression, you'll get something. When you complete Canarch progression, you'll get some. When you complete classic ancients, you'll get some. And that's just kind of how we want to do it. We will introduce more in other places, but for now, that's kind of the focus. Some of our custom systems that we've created are master loot. So if you're in a raid and you want to have a master loot set up, and you have one person who controls the looting for the raid, you can do that. We have a system for it. You can assign loot to people. You can assign loot to the guild. You can drop it back on the corpses, whatever you want to do. You can initiate a roll. You can initiate voting. It's all up to you, however you want to use it. I guess that would be loot council. We do loot council too. Guild donations, so you can donate stuff directly to your guild, where an officer can collect it and put it in the guild bank, or you can make your guild bankers officers and they can collect the items, whatever you want to do. We have guild taxes if you want to do that. So you can collect taxes for anyone out grouping in the world or solo, and you can collect, say 10% or whatever. And then you can do raid tax. So it's a separate thing. So whenever you guys are raiding as a guild, you can collect, 100%, whatever you want to do. We have raid announcements, raid marking, ready check, our custom bazaar. We have a damage meter. We have a threat meter. We have banking and inventory searching, the mentoring. We have a metallurgy system where you can basically turn items into a value that you can then use that value to get, like custom ores and stuff that are used in trade skills and quests. We have a custom research system, which we've completely gutted the old system and made a new research system where players can create augments. And we plan to expand that out a lot over the next year or two. But for right now, it does actually have a bunch of stuff in it. You guys can make a ton of crap. So we have OOC and auction chat integration with Discord, and probably some other stuff I'm missing if you guys can think of anything. But we have many resources available to the community, things like Alakazam clone, Magello. We have a wiki that is all player. We've put a bunch of time into it, but it's basically for the players. The players can add to it whatever they want to do, but we try to have some basic stuff available in there. Like we just spent a lot of time redoing all the spell lists and stuff for all the classes, and we write up, if there's some crazy difference between some of our quests and what may have been on live, we try to capture that. It just depends, but for the most part, it's player driven. We take a lot of pride in the integrity of the server. These guys right here can tell you I'm not afraid to call people out for leaking information, for talking a little bit too much about something they're not supposed to talk about, for using knowledge that they have to get ahead in a system that they're not supposed to. Essentially, I hold everyone to a standard, including myself, for the integrity of our data, our systems, with the goal to impact players as little as possible when making our changes. And that includes, despite what someone might tell you, I don't tell anybody anything about raid content. I don't tell anyone about strategies, things they might have an issue with. If answering a question would tell someone something custom that no one else has figured out yet, I won't answer the question. I'm very strict about this. So we have a very, very strict policy on discussing mechanics, tactics, balance. Like if a bug fix would leak some information that people shouldn't know, we won't even mention the bug fix. No insider information, no insider information trading. This includes within our own guilds and on our own personal characters. We love to talk about the server and things we're working on, but we also love watching people fail. That's what makes the content fun. We never share secrets, never give hints on design quests or other features. We may verify the existence of something or that something is working as intended, but that's only in situations where it makes sense to do so. As mentioned before, our primary content delivery system is the Ancients and their lore. So these are Carafum's trusted servants. These are NPCs that have been coming to Norath to cause problems with players and the world. And essentially, what you can expect out of the server is for things to change. Things will happen. That may mean that something ceases to exist. The city that may no longer fall under a faction that you're used to falling under. whatever we want to come up with, whatever makes sense, we'll probably end up doing it. As this server progresses and grows old and matures, these are things that we will consider and we will work towards. So just last little bit before we really open it up. Some of the future stuff we're working on or working on right now, alongside the Canarch Ancients, we're also, which, that's our next big content patch, is the Canarch Ancients, which will introduce, Epic 2.0s, which are technically the 1.5s. Those quests reimagined in our world because they don't make any sense in the world as we know it. New research combines, new augments, ancient weapon upgrades, class augment upgrades, improvements to our challenge event, new challenge events, improved leaderboard, which hopefully that's something we'll do alongside the challenge event. I would love to introduce hard modes, not necessarily like WoW does it, but to take something that people know and love that may just be way too easy and create a harder version of it. So you can still relive that old content, but in the current environment. Poison making is getting a revamp. Disciplines are getting revamped. Like we're currently testing the warrior discipline revamp, which is live right now, and with more classes to follow. Our goal there is to disciplines seem very not useful, and we want them to be useful. Like a spellcaster casts spells, we want disciplines to be something that melees use frequently. I'm revamping the alternate advancement system to have less headaches and issues, because right now there are some issues with how I do the delivery of the AAs, and my goal is to make it a little more streamlined, a little easier to deal with. We're in talks about possibly introducing a vision system, which was one of the core themes of Clumsy's World 2.0. Essentially, the vision system would allow our players to explore zones that just don't really make sense in our era or with our lore. So, like SS Raw is a zone that everybody loves. Like, I don't know anyone that hates SS Raw. It's one of my favorite zones, and honestly, I would love to have it as a raid on this server, but it doesn't make sense for any reason. But we can create a system where it makes sense. So that's what we want to do. And finally, Valgor, this is his baby. He's working on a bounty system. Technically, it already works. We already have it live. It's part of our Christmas event, but we want to expand it out and have it be something much bigger and much more impactful in the world. I mean, with all of that, it's a substantial amount of stuff we're working on, always trying to improve and always trying to make things better. And just as we get time, So with that said, I want to open it up. Guys can chat, can take questions from the community, whatever you want.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Not sure if I was muted or not. Yeah, so obviously, if anybody has any questions or suggestions or comments or whatever, feel free to drop them in at any time. Yeah, I'll just hit on briefly something Mal brought up just a second ago, which is the bounty system. And I guess I can take a quick step back onto events in general, or seasonal events specifically. So seasonal events on Clumsy's is historically tied to some sort of holiday. So as Mal mentioned, we're working on the Christmas Christmas event right now. We've had a Christmas event for some time, but as he mentioned, we just kind of iterate and add new stuff each year as we go, and it kind of rounds out the content that you get as a bonus each one of those holiday seasons as we cycle through them throughout the year. So one cool thing with seasonal events as we do them, they run. It's not always the exact same duration each one. So we'll have a Halloween event, a Christmas event. May have some other small ones throughout the year, but they run for a finite duration, and they give us kind of a unique opportunity to experiment with different types of content that we don't have in kind of the mainline world at that given time. So one of those is, as Mal mentioned, the kind of underlying concept of the bounty system. So that kind of came from just brainstorming of trying to come up with a content that's a little bit more dynamic. Content development, as I think many people are aware, is extremely time consuming and cumbersome to get out, and then you can spend lots and lots of time on really fine tuning a little package of content. And somebody like Zircon, who's a Quest fanatic, will crank through it in 5 minutes. And the nice thing about kind of venturing into some types of dynamic content is, as the name would suggest, it's not the same for everybody. So, you can go have an experience with it. As player A, and player B has, a similar, thematically similar experience, but the actual way that they interact with the content can be significantly different. So, bounties being one of those. So just the Christmas version of the system has been out. We did it last year, but bringing it back this year, expanding on it a little bit, and given kind of a general idea of that is the system will select specific zones, and you have to go hunt out this NPC. We refer to as the Greenwich, right? And you have to go kill it and get items off of it to satisfy a quest and whatnot. But the point being is that the zones are randomly selected, that you have to go find it, and then the actual NPC that you have to go find is randomly selected throughout any NPC in the zone. So it basically takes a random NPC in the zone and will basically just replace it with this NPC, and then you have to go find it and kill it. So, and there's different tiers of that content and quest. So that was just kind of the first iteration of us kind of getting our feet wet with how to do dynamic content and that type of system specifically. Since then, on our test server, so we do have two servers. We have our live server and our test server, which allows us to to test things and iterate on things without impacting everybody's day-to-day gameplay. And we have the kind of the more mainstream version of the bounty system that isn't necessarily planned to be seasonal. That's essentially in a I would say a 95% done state on the test server right now. So uses the same or similar general underlying system of selecting zones with the randomization factor, and then turning NPCs in those zones, those selected zones, into kind of more interesting, difficult versions of themselves that you have to go hunt down. And we are actually looking into another one of those things that we're testing in the context of a seasonal event is shared tasks. So shared tasks is a feature that's been out in the EQEmu community for, I don't know, at least a year now. We haven't really jumped into using them too much, but we're just starting. So we've got some shared task stuff coming in this Christmas event that's going to be releasing here shortly. And also when we release the bounty system here moving forward, the outside of the seasonal event, it'll involve shared tasks. So for those that haven't used shared tasks, it's basically, again, as the name would kind of suggest, you can get a bunch of people in this big effort of, say 20 people working towards a goal, in where you would normally have to go kill 20 of a specific NPC or collect 20 of an item or whatever. You can get a larger effort that you have to complete, a larger number of things you have to collect or kill or what have you, and you can just get a bunch of people to help you do it. So even if player A is offline for a few days and they're not able to play, but their buddies that are on the shared task with them are online. They all get collective updates for that task progression as each person is doing it. So we're kind of starting to experiment with using some of the server features like that as well, as we again, seasonal events like the one we're going to be kicking off for Christmas here shortly kind of gives us the venue to be able to experiment with stuff. And if it turns out to be either not fun or just
Thank you.
not a good fit for the server or whatever, number one, we can always shut off an experiment, and number two, it's only there for the season. So far we've had pretty good luck with kind of testing stuff out, and everything's been pretty interesting. Try to add some variety in terms of difficulty. So you got the player that's just mostly solo or duo, only gets on every now and then. They have some less robust type of content to go tackle on their own. And then obviously we have raid content and all that stuff that we do for these events as well. But just I'll turn it over to Zerk if you got any other comments to add on any of that. I've got more I can talk about, but I don't want to monopolize the mic here.
All right. No, nothing specifically. I was just reading through the chat and remembering some good times when Velius dropped and we fought through some of the programming bugs there.
Oh yeah.
Those don't exist.
Yeah, that's right. So one of my favorites, I think Malevolent, there coined it as machine gun death touch, is the Spirit of Garzakor quest chain has you fighting a dragon illusion at the end of it, and for some reason, when we got to him and he spawned, he ran around just death touching everybody. I think that was pretty interesting.
It was like the whole raid got wiped out in what, like 10 seconds?
Yeah, yep, one after the other. It was great. And then it that was good. Then it reminded me of Plane of Mischief too, when Bristlebane started hitting for 30 billion damage. I think it was.
This is Jim's favorite moment, I'm sure.
Yeah, yep. So Spiro Pana joined us. He plays Jim and Pam, and a monk and a cleric. So
You're not muted, bud.
gets,
I think it's you.
yeah, it must be you, June.
Oh yeah, sorry.
There
Hey,
you
bud.
go.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw me
So-
smiling when you guys said Bristol Bay.
Right? Yeah.
Working as
yeah,
intended.
right?
Oh yeah,
That's a server feature.
absolutely.
Yeah, and
So it's fun from my side to be able to go through and participate in new content like that, and even when it doesn't work perfectly, to kind of be there for when it's adjusted, and then you guys can usually reset him, and then we go back and attack him again the next week. It just, I don't know, it helps with the server, bringing everybody together because we're all working towards the same goal, and it's just fun to be part of something productive. So makes it interesting.
Yeah, and just to add one thing to what Zerk was saying there, I think that's one thing that makes this server significantly unique compared to a lot that are out there, is the concept that me and Mal are working on the content development piece, coding new encounters and new systems and all of that. However, really, we don't have this massive test pool of players working on our testing content on our test server and whatnot. So how do we do that? We try to get it in as good of a shape as we can, that it's not going to blow up the server or just invalidate anything, and then we get it out to the server in as good of a shape as we can, and then the players are the testers, and they are all kind of part of the process of development. So if you're when new content gets released, if you join the raid and you go and you're the beta testers for it, because that's what we have. So it's kind of cool being a part of that experience, even if you're not actually coding anything or developing it or coming up with the idea, which plenty of people provide suggestions on stuff as well. But you're gonna be a part of the development cycle just by playing on the server, and I think that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, very.
Which got me thinking. So one of the things that kind of gets thrown at us sometimes is that so our guild's called Resurgence, like it's named after the server. And one of the things that gets thrown at us is that, oh, well, you guys, you're the development guild and you have access to all this information and it makes all the raids easier. No, what joining Resurgence gets you is a chance to beta test content. So you get the 30 billion HP damage hits, you get the chain death touches. That's what you're signing up for. No matter what it is, we're testing it. So,
right. And we actually find ourselves, certainly at least between me and Mal, kind of shackling ourselves in raid content. If I design and build and program and whatnot an encounter, I specifically, obviously, I know every intricate detail of that encounter, so I specifically make sure to take a complete backseat on anything. I will, if it's the first time our raid force is encountering that boss, then if there's something that just shows up on my screen, like it's telling me there's some sort of emote or something that's obvious, then I'll react to it just like any other player would. But generally speaking, I take a really conservative approach to making sure to not give anything away or kind of backseat driving any of that stuff, because I want the content to be experienced as somebody that
You guys are pretty evil with that stuff, by the way. With you guys sit back and watch us die, and
Yeah,
It's
I can't.
also
Sorry.
it's also
look
fun to
at Mal's
watch
face.
their blood pressure go up when they know there's a mechanic and we are just like running face first into it over and over again. They're like, don't you guys want to try something else? And we're like, no, let's just run right back in.
We're just hard hats on. Go for it.
Right.
The hell with mechanics.
Right.
I promise you, me and Mal are never sending messages to each other laughing about the mechanics that are being ignored.
Not one.
Yeah.
Some of our chats are pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Like
again, we gotta keep it real and let the raid force kind of figure it out as you go, and so we just gotta kind of laugh at it.
I'm patiently waiting on this Christmas event because I get to watch Jim bash his face against A-Bomb again.
Oh man.
But you know what? It's worth it because the loot's so good, and we're just so good at just pulling with our faces.
Right.
Guys, I don't understand why the whole raid just died. I don't know.
Well,
like
we
every
did pretty
time.
good. We've got it down to just Jim dying now.
Yeah.
At one point,
Pretty much.
I think I lost like a whole yellow per fight at one point.
Yeah.
We got some new stuff coming in this event too.
I don't like the way you just went like this with your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the I did mention seasonal events are kind of a fun encapsulated opportunity to introduce new types of mechanics and new stuff, but I think one thing that's certainly me and Mal, and I know others as well, we've had conversations about is not all content is good content, not all types of mechanics are good mechanics, and so just like not all change is good change. So there are certain types of things that I think we universally agree on are just not that fun, and we obviously have the full control to not really keep those moving forward. Very, very commonplace. But also, we're a 2-box limit server. So generally everybody's playing two characters, which means having encounters where you're having to jump around and do acrobatics and jump from this circle over to that circle and do a backflip and all that kind of crazy stuff. And that generally is not going to be well suited to this server, right? We're playing multiple characters and stuff like that. But there are plenty of other types of mechanics that that are not kind of blocked by the makeup of the server configuration and the rule set and whatnot. So still lots that we can do to keep things interesting without just making it frustrating or unnecessarily obnoxious.
Which, yeah, so that reminds me. So one of the ways we develop content is we try not to shoehorn people into specific raid like configurations. There's really no way around needing clerics for a fight. That's just kind of just how the game's developed. They're the best healers unless you want to make a druid a cleric. There's not really a way around that. But we essentially will come up with content where we go, well, this is how we want to do it, and this is what would be the most efficient way to do it. But in reality, how is this probably going to be done? And we always try to think of that other scenario and making sure that the content's not impossible to do with a less than perfect configuration. Not to say it won't be easier with a better configuration, but we don't really want to shoehorn people into playing specific things. We want people to have fun and play what they want to play. But you're going to have to play clerics, unfortunately. But
I was about to say, I don't have to play a cleric.
no, you got to play a cleric, man.
Oh, I love the cleric on this server though.
It's so good.
Yeah, the group heal. I don't remember that from live at all, so I didn't play a cleric much on live. But the group heal, the direct damage spell that also heals your group, and then the what was the other one that I really liked? Oh, I know the unswerving hammer.
Was it like Mark of something?
Oh,
Strike of
Mark of
Arson?
Karn.
No, it's like a big like defensive DD buff or something.
Retribution, the self damage shield.
Maybe.
The stuff that
Yeah.
shield was Mark of Karn, no?
No, Mark of Karn is the reverse damage shield you put
reverse
on the target. Yeah, Mark of Retribution's like 100 some point damage shield. It's crazy. So yeah, I think clerics are great. So I don't know why you're saying you have to play them.
And his character's name is cleric.
For healing purposes, but they have other goals too, or other roles.
No, cleric's a battle tank.
You
He's
can't
fine.
kill a cleric in PvP.
I mean, he does have as much AC as our tank, so he does all right. I know when Poto pulls aggro, I'm like, well, at least it was me and not Pam.
I hold my own. Listen, you up there.
Right.
And then, of course,
it is.
Sorry, I was gonna say. Then, of course, Dirt and Tog die like 1,000 times every raid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dirt's in Resurgence. He's our monk who pulls all the time, and Pam and I are responsible for keeping him alive. So he dies a lot.
Well, from day what. It's definitely progressed for the better. Not the worse. Like,
Yeah. We do okay.
Yeah.
We do all right.
Yeah, we also, in addition to some of the other things we've hit on, we all obviously play the game, and we played it in other servers, live servers, other emulated servers, etc. And there are certainly some pretty consistent common themes of class, I would say, level of involvement in raids and whatnot. So a good example of that from my own experience is Enchanters, where there's, at least classically, Enchanters, really, really fun class to play all the way through leveling. Like you have a real big impact on the success or failure of your group. And you're just feel really important and powerful. And then you get to raid content and you kind of turn into a buff bot, right? And so certainly not saying that we've fully cracked that nut and that we're where we want to be on that front with all the classes, but Enchanters, just one example of when we're designing new content, we're thinking of ways of how, hey, in this fight, how can we make Enchanters be actually engaged and part of the problem solving and working a solution to making this fight more or making my raid more effective in encountering this content. So it's cool being able to kind of identify those weak areas in the game design that we're working with now, and identify the ways that we can kind of make everybody have more fun with the content. So and there are certainly other examples, but Enchanter is just the one that kind of pops up in my head that we're certainly working on.
What the hell is so funny?
Me and Chuck, we're just doing aura faiths and game back and forth.
Right. So, yeah, I wasn't paying attention, and I got my Giant trigger that said Aura of Faith is worn off, and Pam's cast spells over me here.
This is why we can't
so
have nice things, guys.
I'm
Yep.
sorry, guys.
So I had to cast it back, so that mine overrode it. So then we're just, yep. And this is why people don't get healed,
We're being
Long-
good
Long
clerics,
story
guys.
short, you saw a squirrel.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the server goes, though, it's constantly
Right.
buffed.
And then, but oh man, it got me distracted, Jim. I was gonna talk to a point that Val had.
So that's a good point though. Our hub zone, you can log in as many characters as you want. You're not limited to the 2 box within the hub zone, and the reason for that being that you can log in a porter or a buff bot or whatever, and or a banker, and you don't have to log out one of your main characters to do so.
Yep. And the UI allows for blocking buffs, so you can block the ports, so you can port both of your active characters at the same time while leaving your bots in hub.
Oh, there he is. Back. Hey, my daughter's going to bed, so I'm gonna go put her to bed real quick, and then I will be right back in like 5 minutes.
Sounds good, fella.
All right.
See you in a bit.
The other big AA, because we have the hub zone is the origin AA, that brings you back, what is it, every 12 or 18 minutes you can go back to the hub.
20? It's like, it's 18, I think.
Yeah, with the AA, yeah. Like
Yep.
20 minutes or so.
Yep. So you get that from the start, so you can always, even if you're playing a melee class or melee class, like I said, for adults with other commitments, you can port out and boom, you're in hub, and you can go on your way and do what you got to do.
Yeah, so Jim, man, we didn't really introduce you earlier, but you're one of our most loyal players around here. You drama starter, whatever you want to call it.
I prefer the term shit stirrer.
Oh, the shit show supervisor.
Oh yeah. I like to go at least one wipe in a month. No one seems to mind anymore, so that's good.
Well, the rest of December it'll be pretty much one wipe a day.
Oh boy.
A-bomb, I think, is still the pinnacle, but we'll see. Valgor's whipping up something new. I don't know how crazy he's going with it. I've been a little too busy to actually develop something this time around, so I'm letting him roll with this one. And you guys all thought A-bomb was his. That one was mine. So see, that's one of the things that makes develop this content so much fun is when we pass off the role and I go into a fight blind, I'm like, what the hell did you do to this thing, man? Like some of these classic ancients, we pretty much 50-50'd it, and like I picked half of them, he took half of them, and you guys have pretty much figured out who made each fight. But when we were testing, we were going into each other's fights blind, so we had no clue what the hell was going on. And even for the pinnacle boss, the only involvement he had was just like I had a little script that I needed some help with, and I just was not sure how to handle it. And I was like, "Hey, how should I handle this?" And he's like, "Oh, I just do this." And I was like, "All right, cool." And that's all the involvement he had. So he went into that thing like, "What the hell, man? This is wild." And I was like, "Thanks."
The pinnacle boss?
Yes, the final Canark Ancient, sir.
Oh.
Oh.
No. Who is it? The Grand Magus in Illumin. It's got Valgor written all over it.
Yeah.
The Kunark Ancient. That one's going to be fun.
And Chardock guy. That's definitely Valgor.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Chardock.
So
the one outside in OT, outside of Chardock.
Oh,
not Chardock. Howling Stones.
Howling Stones.
Stones.
You know
that. That's outside the over there, or in the over there.
Yeah. Stone Tail.
Yeah, that one's that one's been through quite a few revisions because it didn't quite meet the standard that we had put in place for the mob. Like once we started actually testing it, and so it's gone through a few changes. Whereas like the Grand Magus was just hard as shit right from the start. But it's just because no one knows the mechanics yet. Like once you know the mechanics, a lot of these fights are pretty easy. But that's what makes them fun, learning the mechanics. Or just smash your face against it like Jim does.
Right.
I prefer face rolling.
He just does this with his keyboard.
That's right. Step 1 is send Jim in. Step 2, res Jim and send him back.
Step 2, res Jim, send him back in.
Yep. We'll figure it out.
Jim bound there.
There you go. Save a step.
What's up, Acadius? Nice of you to drop in. Valgor's AFK. He's your biggest fan. But we just chit-chatting, man. So, questions, I guess. What would you guys like to see? You know, like I know we have a suggestions channel, but you guys got any grand ideas you've been thinking about? Stuff that we can talk about, stuff that maybe I haven't answered yet.
Well, I think. Oh, you first, sir.
I just think mages should get disciplines.
No,
that give them crits. They need more damage.
Mages are just fine where they are.
They're fine.
No.
They so fun fact, mages in other pet classes will actually be getting weaker soon, which all you guys already know that, but the server people watching may not know that. And it's strictly because we have a certain item that pets can use that I didn't realize how overpowered it was going to be when it first got noticed. And our interim fix was to just put a required level on the pets being able to use it at a certain level. But it's still like a substantial part of a pet's damage. So in the future, when we introduce actual pet weapons, like the stuff from Planes of Power and stuff like that, we'll reapproach that and probably cut it off. But in doing that, I actually want to introduce some lower level weapons like that. You know, like the Fist of Ixablat and stuff like that, but have some lower level versions. You know, because like the Swords of Runes and stuff like that are all like damage against summoned or something, like, which unless you really like the whole, it's limited usage. So
yep, and it's small. I mean, it's like what, a 5 or 15 damage proc?
I think it's like 32 or something, but it's still not much.
Yeah,
I think it's a level 29 spell, so when you get it, 30 damage is like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. You just said you would be throwing in Planes of Power spells for, mages, to level them out, more or less pet classes. Will you be adding Planes of Power buff spells for us?
You already have Planes of Power buff spells.
Like Virtue.
Well, that's over 60.
Oh,
So Virtue's the next tier of Aegolism. So yeah, I mean, we'll get it eventually, just when we get to that level range. Which, while we're on the topic, I haven't ever hidden the fact that we will eventually level beyond 60. But my goal is to get through all of Canark and Velius Ancients before we do so. Like to have the next level range, 60 to 65, be beyond Velius Ancients. Like because with that whole content release comes other things that are going to happen, and that extra tiers of levels will work well with that.
So you have like a pretty solid roadmap set ahead for us.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
we have a list that's like this long of shit we want to do before we even start thinking about Velius Ancients. But once Velius Ancients are on the docket, then we'll start thinking about what happens after that. Like, I mean, we already know kind of what we want to do, and we've kind of toyed with those ideas with the Ring War. Like being able to modify like what happens in a town based off another event. And so, I'll give Gravical credit. He did the majority of that work. And so, but that system is in place. Like, we know how it works now. We're comfortable with it. And so when it comes time to potentially do a big change to a city or a zone or something, we could do so, and it won't be that crazy. That'll be time consuming, of course, but functionally it won't be that bad.
Which actually brings me to something I wanted to bring up earlier. You guys do this for free,
Yep.
And you're running pretty much everything yourself. You got a beautiful donation system going on for, people who want to give to the server. Will you be adding more donation skins, weapon skins, shield skins?
Yes.
To make it more appetizing for more people.
Yeah, so actually I was going to add Christmas themed skins, because I added a bunch for Halloween, but there aren't any.
Like a candy cane?
That's it, dude. Like, unless like you can hold some presents in one hand and a candy cane in the other, that's all you get. Like, unless you want to swing a Christmas, which Dag already said he wants a Christmas tree two-hander. So
I wouldn't mind.
I'm just saying, like,
2 boxes.
Yeah, like kind of like how you have the dual pumpkins. Like that's it though. I mean, there's not a lot of skins for Christmas for some reason. There's a shitload for like Valentine's Day, which is wild, but
weird,
yeah, but there's not a lot for Christmas.
That's crazy, huh?
So yes, I will be adding more. I've actually dialed that in too. Like, got a good system for how to do that, how to implement them to where it's not super time consuming. So it's just a matter of finding ones that make sense, that, I don't want to go beyond like the current content, so to speak. So like, I know majority of the shit that drops in Velius looks like rusty two-handers and small shields, but I don't really want to go beyond what's available to the current content. That way, like, you can't have a level 1 character wearing what essentially looks like a level 70 weapon or something like that.
Yeah, you're not going to throw the 2.0, 1.5, 2.0s until that's actually in our content.
Yeah, like I didn't throw epic ornamentations out there until epics were pretty cemented on the server. But I will do that with the 2.0s or 1.5s once it's not new, once it's had some time to mature and people all have them and it's not a big deal no more. Because I don't want to take that achievement away from people.
Yeah.
Same with like ancients and stuff. Like those weapons all look unique compared to regular weapons, and so I don't want to take that achievement away from people. But for now, like, ancient weapons aren't usable really in game no more because or classic ancients aren't current content. So
yeah.
But the tiering of ancient weapons, which I guess I can touch on a little bit, is is you're meant to get an augment, and then that augment is your intermediary, and then there's a quest chain to upgrade it from the augmented version to the final version. And the big hiccup I have with this system is that we have a limited number of augment slots that we can use, and I don't want to create a system where you can, get the upgraded ancient weapon and then go put the ancient augment in it again and have an even better weapon than what you were intended to have. So that's kind of where my hiccup is right now, and just deciding how to handle that so it makes sense. Blake, you got any questions, man? You down there just chilling with your beautiful mustache?
I was going to comment on his mustache.
He's
Epic.
rocking the super stash.
That is a fine
There we
mustache.
go.
Fun fact, Plague
Yep.
starring in Super Troopers 3.
Right.
And Mustache Rides 4.
Oh, yes. You ready for the mustache ride?
I want one.
It's co-starring Jim's mom.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
No,
Jim-
I don't really have any questions right now. The only thing I'm working on that you mentioned is the upgrade to the poison system. I play a rogue, and we all know how useless the classic poison system is. And so we talked about a happy medium between how awesome the upgraded poison system was, because that would be just super OP. So we'll have to tune that down a little bit and tune it up a little bit, because there was only like 3 poisons that were useful, and that's
Yep.
just boring.
So I think,
toning down the DPS. Go ahead.
sorry, I was going to say, I think the goal there was to have a mix of like useful, like single use poisons that would be pretty powerful but expensive to make, and then like your more mainstream multi-use poisons, which would provide some utility of sorts. But it's a whole system we have to dive into and break down and decide what we want to go where with it.
And as neat as that is for me, there's a number of things on your priority list well ahead of that, I'm certain.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I could just dump the whole to-do list on you guys all at once, but we kind of do have to prioritize what's most important for this next patch, so to speak. And we of all the things I mentioned, there's 3 or 4 that we really want to get done now, and then the rest will come after that. And that stuff would all be between Canark and Velia sanctions. Because in between all that stuff, we're still bug fixing. We're still, trying to do Halloween, Christmas content. We'd like to start doing like a spring thing. Maybe not as crazy as your idea was, but something in that time frame, like just because we also use these events to introduce what we call legendary beasts into the world. It's essentially a raid boss that's comes out during an event or something, and then it's super tough, provides good loot, and then it ends up going to another NPC, which is called the Beastmaster, and you can summon it at any time, which has a cooldown. But the idea being that those beasts, even though they're part of an event, once the event's over, they're no longer part of the event, and they then become part of the Beastmaster. So we're up to 3 now, which I still have to add the last one to the event, but it's another way to introduce some content that people can kind of cycle through and do. It may not be current content now, but it's still something that newer players can work through, or newer guilds can work through whenever they show up.
Definitely helps for those newer guilds, just work their way up those tiers. It'll definitely help them progress with the big raids, just doing that.
Yeah, because a lot of times the event gear is better than what you can get in a similar tiered normal raid, just because they're limited duration.
Right.
The-
And then also, we touched on it now and again, but the challenge event.
Yeah.
You said you were working on that a little bit too.
Yeah, so the challenge event works. Like it's functional. However, this thing was wrote like when the server was fresh. And me and Val have both learned a lot since that time. And we would like to rewrite that event, make some changes to it, make some improvements to it, give people the ability to move through it faster, because right now it takes a long time to get through it. And then reset the leaderboard with the new stats, because it's going to be different. But then add more rewards to the system, like I've mentioned adding like AAs and stuff to that, where you could do the challenge event and buy, some of your, generic AAs like regeneration or something, just to give people another thing to work for that's not just items and weapons. Because let's be honest, if we all go in there with our max geared raid characters and do the challenge event, we probably don't need the gear from the merchant. There might be a few items on it that are decent, but something like that is not really intended to gear up your raid, but it should have some other stuff on it. And so I was trying to think of other things that we could put on it, and AAs was one of the first things that came to mind. So
that was one of the changes that we made just from quality of life of playing through the Ring War event. Is it's not a lot of fun just standing there waiting for something to happen. So
yeah.
That's kind of what caused us to add that NPC to the event that allows you to progress the next wave early. Where the classic version of the event, you just got to stand there and wait for the timer to tick down until the next wave comes. But we added that NPC, so you have the choice. You can stand there and wait, or you can go tell the NPC to send the next wave. So that's kind of one of those things that we can add into the challenge event, so you can make the event go as fast or as slow as you want. So you're not just standing there, twiddling your thumbs. But there's lots of cool stuff that we can do once we kind of get through this next major content wave that we're working through right now, and get that launched, get some of the get that kind of refined a little bit, and naturally from a gameplay perspective, we'll be working through the new ancients and the new epics and the new trade skill stuff and the ancient weapon upgrades and all the stuff that goes with that. But from a development standpoint, it'll give us a little bit of breathing room to start working on not only the next phase of content from a more of a linear perspective, but also some of the side stuff that we've been talking about for a while now, of not only just making the challenge event that we currently have access to better, but also making some new stuff that just is kind of similar but different in formats, to make it. There's all sorts of stuff that we can do. Really, it gets me excited to think about kind of what that could look like.
So for anyone that was around in Clumsy World 2.0, that's where the challenge events actually got started. That's where they originally originated at. Plague might remember the second one, which probably the next one I'm going to work on actually was called the Abominable Reaver, which the Abominable Reaver started as a GM event. And it essentially was just taking the idea of how the Black Reavers work in City of Mist and turning it into an endless fight. And, the longer you could go, the better their gear got, the better the rewards got. And obviously the harder the fight got. So it wasn't like a regular Reaver where you just, if you're geared, it's easy. But it would start as a raid fight and then just gets harder. So, and then, of course, the leaderboard would be how many waves did you get to, and then also how long did it take you to get there? Because one of the things we're trying to incorporate is a way to get through wave-based fights faster if you can outgear it, or if you're just a better player. So the same thing with the old event, which is completely wave-based on timers. Once you can get to a point where you can progress faster through it, not only are we going to keep track of what level you got to, but also how fast you got there. And so it's another tier of challenge and record keeping for that event. Like, oh, well, I got to 37 in 10 minutes, and they got to 37 in 8 minutes. So it's a little better.
Nice. And I know the challenge event also makes me think of like the master looting system makes that go much smoother.
Yeah.
because it becomes a a GUI chat interface loot system as opposed to having to try to loot corpses in between waves or in between kills.
Which
So
is easy
master
early
looting-
on.
Yeah, right.
Not so easy when you're struggling for your life and the later waves.
Right, towards the end of it. So yeah, that master looting system it has made life just so much easier, especially when we're getting in moving. Our guild moves through raids pretty quick, like North Tav. So not having to stop and grab things and hand them out to people individually, being able to just click on the GUI and assign it to people makes things go very smoothly.
Yeah, that was a massive undertaking by Valgor, so props to him on that one. And it started as an ask from me for a system that I wanted, and I just didn't really know what to do, or how to handle it. So
Right.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting. So I know I maybe run a risk of being stoned by mentioning this this other game out there, but watching, if anybody's keeps an eye on the whole World of Warcraft development progression out there, they they're right now they're currently they've got this, I don't know how long it's been out, a year or less, the whole classic server where they're going kind of doing what EverQuest Live has been doing of not quite progression servers, but just going back, similar concept, right? Going back and having classic versions of their servers and whatnot. Well, so they just launched this Season of Discovery version of World of Warcraft, where you have a classic server, but yet they add a bunch of funky stuff to it to make it kind of different. So it's kind of classic environment, but you have they get their claim to fame was warlocks can tank and this can do that, just different kind of wacky stuff. And although we may not necessarily go the route of totally fundamentally changing a class, but it does draw a parallel to me in terms of I would say one of the biggest gripes that I've seen with EverQuest in I guess more specifically games that try to emulate the feel of EverQuest is that they just go too far with things of totally fundamentally changing the game. I've heard a lot of people say if you could take EverQuest and just put it in Unreal Engine or Unity or something, like new graphics, and just be EverQuest, I think a lot of people would love that. It's certainly in the gaming kind of niche that a lot of us are follow and are in. And so, but just add some new, cool, interesting stuff. And so that's where it just kind of drew the parallel in my brain of the stuff that WoW is doing right now. It just kind of made me chuckle of, on this server, we have naturally the kind of canvas that we are starting with of the basic EverQuest game, and we're adding all these things to it that are just quality of life features, and to start with in terms of all these extra systems and whatnot that we have, and tweaks to available types of content that are already been, available to the game, but maybe not available to like certain class race combinations and access to spells maybe earlier than you would already have them. Just kind of stuff that we can give you out of the box, and then going down this vision of content that isn't available to the to everybody else, basically. So we can again challenge events and going down up until Velius, we have largely followed the classic model of the content, with some ancients obviously being an exception to that. But post Velius, we're really getting into completely uncharted territory of all of that content will be custom, and so it's really gonna it's really going to be interesting for us to keep the core component of EverQuest and what makes EverQuest fun, but go into an area that none of us have experienced before, and content that none of us have experienced before, kind of following this vision of this lore that the server has outlined. So it'll be pretty interesting to do that. And again, obviously the classes and will evolve over time. Not just levels or whatnot, but just the way that they play will evolve and tweak a little bit and refine. But it'll be cool to experience EverQuest with the kind of the classic feel, but moving into super custom content that nobody's ever played before. And we've had a little taste of that with Ancients, but it'll be kind of more of the whole package with totally custom zones and everything, as opposed to just custom encounters and whatnot. So I'm excited for that phase of things once we get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned like not revamping a whole class. I can't tell you how many games I've picked up and I go to play like a healer or a mage, and it doesn't line up with how it was in EQ, and I just can't get into it.
Right.
Like they just try too hard, or they make them the jack of, like they can do anything. I think I played WoW for a little bit, and then my big turnoff is when they let like all mages have ice block. Like if you're a fire mage, you could have ice block. I'm like, you couldn't do that. So
Yep.
and then I reverted back. Like I would just always go back and play EQ. I'm like, this is what a wizard's supposed to do, and this is what a mage is supposed to do, and you guys got it wrong. And then same with Dungeons and Dragons. When I play that, it's nice because I mean, original EQ was based off of some fundamentals from D&D back when I think it was 3.0 or 3.5, and the cleric is what it's supposed to be. He's a plate wearing class that can do more than just heal. And I think one thing I just really love about EverQuest is classes. Some classes had a specific thing that they did, and they did it better than anybody else, and they sucked at other things, and that was fine. They didn't have to be good at everything. They did their one job very, very well, like a wizard or a rogue.
Like, for example, a cleric's a good tank, a cleric's a good healer, a cleric
Right.
is a good DPS.
Yeah, cleric. I think just overall, cleric is what everyone should aspire to be.
I think what you guys are trying to say is I wanted people to want to play a cleric. I didn't want people to have to play a cleric.
Right. Yep.
Same with paladins, okay? Everybody shits on paladins. Paladins are great.
Yeah.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
On this server, they've got the AoE stuns and the group heals, and they're just they're great. Unfortunately, we have some people who play Shadow Knights, and that's okay. But paladins are great.
Have any of you guys mentioned kind of how Paladins work on this server, and like what makes them fun compared to super classic versions?
I'm not too familiar with the classic version, so I'm not one to talk on it.
So essentially, paladins here have just expanded the role a bit. When I went into the knights, I wanted each one to maintain what they were good at. Paladins have always been your more defensive tank, your stunner. They're better at groups. They have decent group heals, and I wanted to maintain that role. They're a warrior and a cleric combined. They have a purpose, and so when I created their new spells, I wanted them to just take those roles and make them easier, so to speak. So they're Their group heals are better. All of their self cast buffs are better. Like Instrument and Knife here scales with your level. It doesn't cap it. I don't know, 128 damage or whatever the hell it was before. It will infinitely scale as long as you keep leveling. The AoE stuns, like Confounding Light, that kind of stuff. They not only give you the ability to control a group of mobs, they scale better on the level range than normal stuns do. They have aggro modifying components, so that helps them build aggro quicker on groups. And they're not super expensive on mana. They definitely can be. Like if you spam them, you're gonna drain mana pretty fast. But then the Shadow Knight, I wanted the Shadow Knight to be the more offensive tank, and so they have aggro modifying buffs. They have the instacast hate buffs, which have all been improved. They have the their self buff like taps. They've been increased to make them useful. I don't know what the hell was going on with those buffs. When I first started working on Shadow Knights, I noticed that what is it, like Vampiric Embrace or whatever, was the best one they had. It was better than the higher level self buffs. It procced more, it did more damage, and so I wanted to make the other ones better, make them proc more often, make them do more damage. And so Shadow Knights are actually very stout in terms of just self healing, and that's what makes them so good at also doing damage. So, and then like Warriors got a bunch of stuff too to make them better tanks. They now have more like versions of Berate and stuff like that not only gives instant aggro, but aggro over time, so they can hit a couple different mobs with different Berates and have aggro building on multiple mobs. And then they have AoE taunts, same type of stuff, where they can hit multiple mobs and build aggro on multiple mobs. Then of course they got the discipline revamp before anybody else, so they have all these new stances, and all their disciplines have been reworked to be actually useful to the point where you can use them very frequently. And hell, a lot of them actually are better now than they were before. Like Precision, for instance, was freaking useless. I don't know why that just even existed, but now like even Fearless and Resistant disciplines have been revamped to where they last longer, they do more. So that's the goal, like with all of this, is to make the classes retain that role that they're known for, but just make them better. Make them more fun to play. I don't know.
And I think that's a kind of a good example of kind of a little bit what I was saying before, of where a lot of these projects, whether it's a version of EverQuest that gets kind of really wild, or just other types of games that try to emulate the EverQuest feel, where they go awry, is again they try to please everyone, and they try to get too kind of exotic with their design philosophy, to the point that it just doesn't feel like it doesn't have that same kind of feel anymore. So I like the idea of taking what makes sense about a class design and just expanding on it and making it more fun and useful, as opposed to making a paladin that can shoot fireballs, or just get totally wild to where it just doesn't make sense anymore, and it doesn't feel like EverQuest anymore. So I think taking that model of every class has something that they're good at, but they also have weaknesses, and kind of embracing that, I think is the right direction.
Agreed. Well, guys, I don't think chat's too lively. If any of you guys have questions, things you want to hear about, know about, something we haven't covered yet, now's your time. We'll probably cut this off here pretty soon. But if y'all got something you want to know about, let us know, and we'll try to answer it. But besides that, man, I think it's been a pretty good chat. I don't know that we would do this very often, but maybe each major content patch or something, we can hop on and do a group chat and talk about stuff. And throw some ideas at each other. I don't know.
Right. Can discuss how long we've thrown our heads against a brick wall on new content.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. That's one of the things that makes it fun for me to develop. Just watching Zircon die to it because he's not looking at chat. But
Nope.
yeah, it's good times.
Right.
Well, a lot of times we gotta, this goes with any kind of development. Like you gotta kind of make it maybe a little bit harder than you think it needs to be at the final version of it, just so because you just never know how it's going to shake out in reality on live players playing with it, playing with the content. So, and then just see how everybody interacts with it, and then make tweaks to it accordingly. But yeah, it'll be good times, no matter what.
Yeah, so just got mentioned in our suggestion channel. Actually, a guy was asking about a port to Thurgoden from our hub zone, and we actually have that already. All the faction cities, Kale, Thurgoden, and Skyshrine have ports to them, but it requires you to be allied to them to use it. So there's a faction component to that port.
And Chardock.
Yep, in Chardock. And then there's some raid zones too, where ports to the raid zones open up once you've completed a quest or got a certain progression done. So we didn't want to make everything super easy. Like you can't just port everywhere, but to give people a reward for to having good faction or for completing a quest or a progression chain or whatever.
Yeah.
And Jim's not here right now, but he would talk about the mentoring system. That's his favorite thing in the world because he loves to power level people in permafrost.
I was gonna say only if permafrost hot zones.
Yeah, and it's a hot zone.
Either.
Yeah, so the hot zones rotate. What is it? Every Thursday around noon, give or take, and they're completely automated. Like we don't input at all on the system. We set up the categories and it runs. So every Thursday when it fires off, some wild shit like Vishan's Peak. Just know that we had nothing to do with it.
Are you talking about the hot zones that
Yeah.
we've had recently?
Yeah. Or Plate of Growth.
I think my gifts have been perfect for every Thursday.
Yeah, so Jim, we basically just said that we're gonna take questions if anybody had any, because there's not a ton of people in chat. So otherwise we'll probably wrap it up here pretty soon. Because we are rating in 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's happening. I just made a fresh cup of. Look how pretty my cup is.
Oh, fancy. Yeah. Pretty mine is.
I'm just waiting for you to dump that all over your keyboard.
Oh yeah, you guys want some
Dude,
want
this
some
keyboard
heat
takes
wave?
everything.
Dude,
Yeah.
there's no reason for a man like you to have a cup that ever.
I drank a fucking half a bottle of gin last night. I drank a little bit before. I'm like so out of it right now.
I know we're lucky Plague didn't have any gin today.
I'm at work.
We wouldn't be able to shut him up.
Right.
Plague's got an excellent characteristic on gin. Like he's just like so enthusiastic on gin.
Yeah.
It's a magical drink.
We-
I drink the Tanqueray Fountain of Life.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining me. Obviously, we're all part of this community, so we all care about it. But I do appreciate y'all taking time out to come join us. Any closing remarks you guys want to make before we head out?
Can we have mounts?
No, there'll never be mounts on the server.
I couldn't even look you in the eye when I asked that question.
There you go, guys. In case you didn't know, there will never be mounts on the server.
Dude, do you remember mounts on the original server when you could sell
They're
back in
terrible.
for more than you bought them for?
Yes, I do remember that.
I don't remember that, but I remember they were the
as
stopping
the-
momentum sucking.
Also, if you've never used mounts on live EQ with the old models, that shit's hilarious.
The ogres.
Just you just stand on the mount as the mount's going. This shit's so hilarious.
Yeah, I don't really have too much more to add. I think it was a good chat. Yeah, we should definitely. I think the idea of doing it again and around the timeline of releasing a new major content patch makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We should do one like at the release of the content, and then like a month in after we've been fighting.
Everybody
the
will be
content.
like super like grim and depressed.
Right? Yep.
How's the content? Fucking great.
Yeah. I love it.
Especially once Dirk gets a hold of y'all.
Oh, boy.
man.
You know he gets lively at new content releases.
Yep.
He's waiting for that Kunark stuff.
Oh yeah, the ancients.
All right. Plague, you got anything? Anything you want to mention before we head out? Just wrapping it up, bud.
No, but thank you guys for doing what you do, because the server is fucking awesome.
Cool. Appreciate it, man. Zerk, you got anything?
Nope.
All right. Val, last remarks. I know you like to talk, man. Come on, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just again the unknown in terms of the future and what's available to us in terms of types of content that we could put out there, types of systems that we can put out there. Kind of the fact that our future isn't entirely written for us is, I think, one of the most exciting things for me. You go back to a server like a progression server kind of thing. Although it's fun getting back and getting that hit of dopamine and the nostalgia of kind of playing through that stuff, you know where the server's going because it's all written for you. For us, it's to some extent we got the chunk of classic content that you can go play and run through and experience, but you're gonna have new stuff that nobody's ever seen before. So looking forward to that future.
Yep, that's one of our main goals is to create unique content. Like we may take inspirations from some stuff, but the goal is for us to have something that you've never done before, or at least never done in EQ. But
speaking of that, you guys don't only work on content. You actually just released a new update, so we could actually use modernized computers, like pretty much our super quote unquote supercomputers for EverQuest without any issues, and it's running flawlessly.
So I can't take credit for that, but that just came down from the community. The community managed to find out how Live EQ fixed that issue because they had the issue too, and I just took advantage of it and shared it with our guys. So yeah, and we've been looking for a fix for a while for that, and I'm glad it's finally there. And we've put it in our base download, our base client install. So if you're playing here and you have an AMD 7000 series CPU or a AMD 7000 series GPU, you've probably had issues, and they're fixed now. So yeah, that was big. Yep. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. Appreciate everybody coming out. All you guys for taking time out of your days to join us, talk to us. Anyone who's in the chat, appreciate you guys. I haven't really been watching the chat. Like whoever's in there, I don't really know, but I do appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. I will probably stream tonight. I haven't streamed in a little while. I'll probably stream tonight. You guys can get a feel for what the server's like live, and if y'all want to come join. So probably won't be that lively since Plague's not drinking, but the rest of us are. So we'll see.
You guys are.
He's trying to wake up still, but the rest of us are drinking. So all right. Well, thank you guys. Well, we're gonna cut it out.
Yeah. Thanks.
Take it easy.